20 photographs, that's what Kris Jenner chose to post from her extravagant 70th birthday bash at Jeff Bezos' $165 million mansion. 20 carefully selected moments from a night that brought together Mariah Carey, Oprah Winfrey, Snoop Dogg, Gail King, and Justin Bieber. 20 chances to showcase the guests who mattered most at her milestone celebration. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle attended that party. They posed for paparazzi outside. They mingled with the A-listers inside. And when the morning came and Kris Jenner curated her Instagram carousel, they didn't make a single frame. Not one photograph. Zero. Zilch. Completely erased from the official record. Let that sink in for a moment. These are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, former working members of the British royal family, people who once commanded global attention with a single appearance, and now they cannot even make the cut for a reality television matriarch's Instagram post. The brutal mathematics of social hierarchy could not be clearer. When you have 20 slots to fill, and you choose gurning Mariah Carey over actual royalty, you are sending a message that echoes across every gossip column and royal watching forum in the world. That message is simple and devastating. Harry and Meghan do not move the needle anymore. They do not generate the kind of heat that matters in Hollywood. They are not, in the language of the entertainment industry, worth the real estate. Sources close to the situation whisper that this was not an oversight. Kris Jenner did not accidentally forget to include the Sussex couple in her highlight reel. This was a calculated editorial decision by a woman who has built an empire on understanding exactly what sells and what does not. She invited them to the party because having royalty attend still carries a certain cash, even diminished royalty. But featuring them in her social media? That is where she drew the line. The optics are absolutely staggering. Harry and Meghan spent years telling anyone who would listen that they wanted privacy, that they were suffocating under the weight of royal duty, that all they desired was a quiet life away from the cameras. And yet here they are, showing up to a Kardashian birthday party, posing for paparazzi outside the venue, and then getting completely shut out of the host's official documentation of the evening. They have achieved something truly remarkable. They have managed to position themselves below the Kardashians in the Hollywood pecking order, below a family that rose to fame through a leaked intimate tape and reality television. That is not just a fall from grace, that is a nosedive into total irrelevance, and the whole world is watching it happen in real time. The question everyone is asking now is simple. How did it come to this? The timing wasn't just bad, it was catastrophically, almost deliberately tone-deaf. While Harry sipped champagne at a Kardashian party, his father stood at the cenotaph with tears streaming down his face. While Meghan posed for photographers outside Jeff Bezos' mansion, Princess Catherine guided Prince George to his seat at the Royal Albert Hall for one of the most solemn occasions in the British calendar. While the Sussex couple celebrated reality television royalty, the actual royal family honored the war dead. This was Remembrance weekend, the most sacred weekend on the royal calendar, the weekend when Britain pauses to honor those who gave their lives in service of their country. And Prince Harry, the man who served 2 tours in Afghanistan, the man who founded the Invictus Games, the man who just days earlier had written a personal note claiming he cared about nothing more than British veterans, chose a Kardashian birthday bash over respect for the fallen. The British public watched this unfold in real time, and the fury was immediate and visceral. Social media exploded with condemnation. One commentator wrote that the royal family are meant to honor the fallen on solemn Remembrance weekend in the UK, but the dumb, traitorous Prince Harry and his grinning wannabe instead chose to honor a Kardashian 5,000 miles away. No interest in duty, just tacky fame. But here's what makes this betrayal even more staggering. Harry wore a poppy on his tuxedo. He obtained it during his recent trip to Canada after donating to the appeal, so he understood the significance of the weekend. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he showed up to that party anyway, his poppy pinned to his chest like some kind of sick joke, while King Charles wept at the memorial service thousands of miles away. And Meghan, she couldn't even be bothered with that minimal gesture. No poppy adorned her glamorous outfit. Her excuse, delivered through sources to the Daily Mail, was that poppies are not widely available in the United States. This from a woman who has tracked them down in previous years without issue. This from someone who has access to private jets and unlimited resources. She chose not to wear one, and that choice speaks volumes about where her priorities truly lie. The body language footage from outside the party tells its own devastating story. Harry looks miserable. His face carries the rictus grin of a man who knows the optics are terrible, but feels powerless to change course. Meghan, by contrast, is all teeth and enthusiasm, soaking up every camera flash like it's oxygen. One observer perfectly captured the dynamic as narcissist posted miserable man and rictus grinning narcissist attend party, one bored, the other fueled. This wasn't just a social misstep. This was Harry publicly choosing his wife's desperate need for attention over honoring the veterans he claims to care about most. And Britain watched every excruciating second of it unfold. Let's talk about what Meghan Markle's missing poppy really means, because this goes so much deeper than a simple fashion oversight. This was a choice. A deliberate, calculated decision that reveals exactly where her allegiances lie and just how far she's willing to go to distance herself from anything authentically royal. The excuse is laughable. Poppies aren't widely available in the United States. Really? This is the same woman who can source rare ingredients for her overpriced jam from boutique suppliers. The same woman who has stylists and assistants and an entire team dedicated to crafting her public image. The same woman who wore poppies to lunch with friends in previous years without any apparent difficulty. But suddenly, in the year 2025, when the whole world is watching, poppies have become impossible to locate in America. Let's be brutally honest about what happened here. Meghan didn't want to wear a poppy. She didn't want the visual association with British military tradition and remembrance. She's been systematically erasing every connection to her brief time as a working royal, and that little red flower represents everything she's trying to leave behind. Duty, service, sacrifice, all those tedious concepts that don't align with her brand of celebrity entrepreneurship and lifestyle content. Harry, meanwhile, stood beside her with his poppy prominently displayed, creating one of the most awkward visual contrasts imaginable. He secured his poppy in Canada, proving that yes, it is absolutely possible to obtain one in North America if you actually care enough to try. His poppy was there, hers was not. And that tells you everything you need to know about the fundamental incompatibility brewing beneath the surface of this marriage. Sources close to the situation claim Meghan has worn poppies pretty much every November in the past. She even wore one to a casual lunch date a year or two ago. So what changed? What shifted between then and now that made this symbol of remembrance suddenly unacceptable? The answer is simple and chilling. She's done pretending. She's finished with the performance of caring about British traditions or honoring the institution she married into. The mask has slipped, and what we're seeing underneath is someone who never truly understood or respected what being royal actually meant. The British public isn't buying her excuse for a second. They watched her wear designer gowns that required months of planning and international shipping. They saw her coordinate elaborate outfits for every public appearance. But a poppy? That tiny, inexpensive symbol of respect for the war dead? Somehow that was beyond her capabilities. This wasn't about availability. This was about priorities. And Meghan Markle's priorities are crystal clear. She'll show up for the Kardashians, she'll pose for paparazzi, she'll court every camera flash and headline she can manufacture. But honoring fallen soldiers on the most sacred weekend of the British calendar? That doesn't serve her brand, so it doesn't make the cut. The poppy that wasn't there speaks louder than any statement her representatives could issue. There's a certain poetic justice in watching Harry and Meghan desperately court the Kardashians while the Kardashians themselves are fighting for relevance. This isn't a meeting of equals. This is two sinking ships trying to convince each other they're still seaworthy. The Kardashians' Hulu show has tanked in the ratings, their cultural influence has waned dramatically, and yet somehow they still rank higher in the Hollywood hierarchy than the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Let that reality settle in for a moment. The Kardashians, a family that built their empire on reality television and strategic personal branding, are now positioned above actual royalty in the entertainment industry food chain. That's not just a fall from grace for Harry and Meghan, that's a complete inversion of the natural order. Industry insiders are calling this whole event exactly what it was, a publicity stunt. The Kardashians don't have the same pull they once did, and they're grasping at anything that might generate headlines. Having royals at your birthday party still carries a certain cachet, even if those royals are widely despised. But here's the brutal truth that Kris Jenner's Instagram snub revealed. While Harry and Meghan were useful enough to invite, they weren't valuable enough to feature. They got them through the door, but they weren't worth the social media real estate. The whole evening descended into farce. Police were actually called to the event. The optics of Harry attending a party so tacky that law enforcement got involved, on a day when he knew Britain would be watching, shows just how far his judgment has deteriorated. This is a man who once commanded respect as a military veteran and working royal. Now he's grimacing his way through Kardashian chaos, while his family honors the war dead. British commentators absolutely eviscerated the decision. One pointed out the stark contrast between excess and service. The royals are serving the people, remembering the fallen, while Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are just there to indulge in the excess that those royal titles give them. Without all the trappings of royalty, they are nothing in that industry. They have achieved nothing. Everything they've touched has basically turned to ruin. And here's the most damning observation of all. They are there just for the optics and just for Meghan Markle. She loves this. She loves the paparazzi. Harry claims to hate it, yet he goes along with it, proving that Harry has really no pull or say in that relationship. He does everything on behalf of his wife, even when it destroys his own reputation and betrays everything he supposedly stands for. They thought associating with the Kardashians would boost their Hollywood credentials. Instead, it exposed just how far they've fallen down the pecking order. They're not on the Snoop Dogg or Oprah Winfrey level. They're barely hanging on to D-list status, and everyone in Hollywood knows it. Just 1 week earlier, Harry had been in Canada staging what was supposed to be his redemption tour. Photo after photo of him with elderly veterans smiling warmly, listening intently, playing the role of the caring prince who never forgot his military roots. His PR team worked overtime to position this as Harry at his best. Harry doing the meaningful work he truly cares about. Harry proving that leaving the royal family was about focusing on what really matters. And then he destroyed it all in a single night at a Kardashian party. Every carefully crafted image from that Canada trip, every heartfelt moment with veterans, every speech about service and sacrifice, all of it evaporated the instant those paparazzi photos emerged from outside Jeff Bezos' mansion. You can't claim veterans are your top priority on a Monday and then skip Remembrance weekend for reality television on a Saturday. The math doesn't work. The narrative collapses under its own weight. Royal commentators noted the bitter irony of Harry using elderly veterans for photo opportunities while being accused of elder abuse against his own grandparents. He abandoned Queen Elizabeth in her final years. He subjected Prince Philip to stress during his declining health. He weaponized private family conversations in his memoir and Netflix documentary. But sure, Harry, tell us again how much you care about elderly veterans who serve their country with honor. The Canada trip had another problem. Harry announced it at the worst possible moment, deliberately stepping on his brother's toes just as William was preparing for the Earthshot prize. This wasn't accidental timing. Harry sent out his announcement knowing full well that William's major environmental initiative was coming up, and knowing that the royal calendar is carefully coordinated to avoid these clashes. He did it anyway because he needs the attention, and he's willing to undermine his brother to get it. Then there was the security excuse. Harry claimed he had to announce the trip publicly because without international protection, he needed to alert authorities. But that's complete nonsense. He could have announced it the day before. He could have handled it through proper diplomatic channels. What he wanted was the headline, the comparison to William, the ability to position himself as still relevant on the world stage. The Canadians weren't impressed. King Charles is actually on their money, not Harry. They made it clear that Remembrance Day belonged to their actual head of state, not a renegade prince who abandoned his duties for California sunshine and celebrity parties. Harry showed up anyway, wore his poppy, got his photos with veterans, and then immediately proved it was all performative by jetting off to party with the Kardashians. 1 week. That's all it took for Harry to completely undermine his entire Canada tour, destroy any goodwill he might have generated, and confirm what everyone already suspected. He's not doing this work because he cares. He's doing it because he needs the headlines, and he'll betray those veterans the moment something more glamorous comes along. When Tom Sykes speaks, people listen. He's not some random commentator throwing hot takes into the void. He's a veteran royal journalist with deep connections to both camps, someone who has generally maintained a foot in the Markle-friendly territory. So when Tom Sykes goes on record saying that Harry and Meghan's relationship is becoming more and more unsustainable, the royal watching world sits up and pays attention. His analysis of the Kardashian party appearance was devastating. He pointed out that by showing up at Jeff Bezos' disgustingly opulent billionaire hideaway mansion for a Kardashian party, they invited a contrast that is just absolutely obvious. On one side, you have Charles, Kate, and young Prince George arriving at the Royal Albert Hall for an incredibly moving festival of remembrance. On the other side, you have Harry and Meghan at a tacky celebrity bash. The optics could not be worse if they'd been designed specifically to destroy Harry's reputation. But Sykes went deeper than just that single event. He identified the fundamental clash at the heart of their marriage. Harry's stated goals, Harry's stated principles, which is privacy, which is he does not like being in these situations, and yet they keep coming together and crashing against each other. It's becoming more and more unsustainable. Think about what that means. Harry has publicly stated repeatedly that he hates the paparazzi. He's compared camera flashes to PTSD triggers because of his mother's death. He's written extensively about how much he values privacy and quiet family life. And yet here he is, month after month, being paraded through publicity events orchestrated by his wife, grimacing for cameras he supposedly despises, attending parties he clearly doesn't want to be at. The body language tells the story his words cannot. Harry looks miserable at these events. His forced smiles don't reach his eyes. His posture screams discomfort. Meanwhile, Meghan glows under the attention, soaking up every camera flash like it's liquid gold. She married Harry for this access, and she's going to extract every possible ounce of publicity from that royal connection, even if it destroys her husband's mental health in the process. Royal insiders whisper that Harry is beholden to whatever Meghan Markle wants to do, and he just doesn't seem to have that pull. She definitely does not have the self-control to not indulge her worst impulses when it comes to attention-seeking. Meghan Markle always wants to be the center of attention. She wants the cameras on her. This is why she married Harry. It's why she was looking for a rich, famous husband, because she couldn't gain this pull on her own. Tom Sykes is right. This is unsustainable. You cannot build a lasting marriage on this kind of fundamental incompatibility. Harry wants one life. Meghan demands another. and increasingly it's becoming obvious which one of them is actually in control of this relationship. The devil is always in the details, and sometimes those details reveal more than any bombshell interview ever could. Case in point, Harry's sudden affinity for double-breasted velvet blazers. Royal fashion watchers noticed it immediately. William started wearing these sophisticated velvet jackets, looking absolutely commanding in them during the Earthshot Prize ceremony in Rio. And then, like clockwork, Harry showed up to his big night out wearing the exact same style. This wasn't coincidence. This was deliberate copying, and it's part of a pattern that's become impossible to ignore. Harry never wore velvet blazers until William did first. Let that sink in. A grown man in his 40s is taking style cues from the brother he supposedly wants nothing to do with, the brother he spent years trashing in memoirs and documentaries and carefully leaked stories to sympathetic journalists. Royal commentators are having a field day with this observation because it cuts to the heart of Harry's psychological state. He desperately wants to be as important as his brother. He's desperate for that status, that relevance, that automatic respect that comes with being the heir. But he threw it all away, and now he's reduced to copying William's fashion choices, like some kind of sad tribute act. Harry's PR team must be tearing their hair out. They keep insisting that Harry isn't competing with William, that he's found his own path, that he's happy with his choices. But then Harry himself undermines that narrative by constantly trying to compete. The timing of his Canada announcement stepping on William's Earthshot Prize, the copycat fashion choices, the desperate attempts to position himself as still royal, still relevant, still worthy of the attention William commands effortlessly. Everyone's looking for it now because Harry and Meghan have trained us to look for it. Every time we see these things, because they've happened so frequently, it's hard not to draw comparisons. Harry himself would do so many favors by just trying to recognize that and adjusting accordingly, but he can't seem to do it. He just wants to be as important as his brother. He's desperate for that, and he inevitably just steps his foot in it all the time, attempting to compete. The velvet blazer moment is small in isolation, but it's symbolic of something much larger and more troubling. Harry is stuck in a perpetual state of comparison with William, and he's losing that comparison in every measurable way. William has the crown, William has the respect, William has the functional marriage and the well-adjusted children who are being raised to serve. William has dignity and purpose. What does Harry have? A copied blazer and a grimace at a Kardashian party. The contrast couldn't be more devastating, and the fact that Harry keeps inviting these comparisons suggests he's either completely oblivious to how bad this looks, or he's so psychologically damaged that he can't stop himself from competing, even when he knows he's going to lose. While Harry grimaced through a Kardashian party, something profoundly significant was happening back in Britain. Prince George, just 12 years old, stepped into his most formal royal role yet at the Royal Albert Hall's Festival of Remembrance. The symbolism was impossible to miss. The heir to the heir, seated beside his mother and grandparents, participating in one of the monarchy's most solemn occasions while his uncle partied with reality television stars 5,000 miles away. This wasn't supposed to happen yet. William and Catherine have been fiercely protective of their children's privacy, deliberately keeping them out of major royal events until they're older. George's appearance at this level of formality represents a departure from their carefully planned timeline, and royal insiders know exactly why the schedule got accelerated. King Charles's ongoing battle with cancer has quietly forced the palace's hand. Tom Sykes captured it perfectly. We are being softened up for a new Prince of Wales. We are being introduced to the future in real time. It is extraordinary to think of the change that is happening and going to happen to the royal family in the next few years. We think a lot about King William V, but we don't think so much about George, Prince of Wales, how young he's going to be coming into that role. The footage from Remembrance weekend tells its own emotional story. King Charles visibly moved, tears glistening in his eyes as he honored the fallen. His health struggles are written across his face, the weight of mortality pressing down on ceremonial duty. He's leaning into his vulnerability now, no longer hiding the toll that cancer treatment has taken. And beside him, the line of succession on clear display. George, composed and serious, understanding the gravity of the moment. William wasn't there that Saturday night. He was still returning from Brazil after the Earthshot Prize, but his absence somehow made George's presence even more significant. The king flanked by his grandson, the dynasty's future secured and visible. Palace officials will insist this was long planned, but nobody's buying that spin. This was deliberate staging. This was the monarchy showing Britain and the world that the succession is secure, that the next generation is ready, that the institution will continue no matter what happens to Charles's health. The contrast with Harry's situation couldn't be more stark or more tragic. George is being carefully prepared for his future role, surrounded by family who love and support him, guided by parents who understand the weight of duty. Harry's children are being raised in California isolation, cut off from their cousins, denied the family network that could help them navigate the unique challenges of their position. George participated in honoring the war dead. Harry's kids don't even know what Remembrance Day means. The quiet transition is happening, whether Harry likes it or not. The monarchy is moving forward, George is stepping up, and Harry is increasingly irrelevant to the institution he was born into. Paula Froelich doesn't mince words, and her assessment of Meghan Markle's Hollywood trajectory is absolutely brutal. This was supposed to be Meghan's year, the year of the Markle sparkle, as her team tried to brand it. The year when everything would finally click, when all her projects would succeed, when Hollywood would embrace her as the mogul she believes herself to be. Instead, everything she has touched has blown up in her face. Everything. Let's run through the carnage. Her Netflix show with Love Meghan premiered to tepid response. People watched it for 4 days, just long enough to get it onto the top 10 list, and then forgot it existed. Her As Ever lifestyle brand launched with limited edition products that sold out immediately, but only because she manufactured scarcity. If you only have 3 pairs of socks, they're gonna sell out too. That's not success, that's smoke and mirrors. Then came the October spiral. Balenciaga initially welcomed her to Paris Fashion Week, then backtracked so hard you could hear the skid marks from across the Atlantic. They would not have said yes, she has to come, unless they were getting massive blowback. She attended a Power Women's event despite founding a company she didn't really even found. She just told people to set it up. She accepted a humanitarian award despite being accused of disaster tourism at the LA fires. The optics were catastrophic at every turn. And here's the kicker. Rankier.com ranked Meghan as the #1 most hated celebrity in the United States. Oprah came in at number 8. That tells you everything you need to know about Meghan's current standing, and about what associating with her does to your brand. Even Oprah's considerable influence couldn't withstand proximity to the Sussex toxicity. Hollywood insiders are done pretending. They're not broke, sure. Harry inherited millions, and they bought their Montecito mansion for $14 million that's now worth $30. But money isn't the same as relevance, and relevance is the only currency that truly matters in entertainment. Netflix is checked out. They've invested too much money into As Ever to abandon it completely, but they're not investing emotional energy anymore. They're just trying to recoup whatever they can and move on. The Kardashian connection makes perfect sense through this lens. 2 struggling brands trying to generate heat by association, neither one willing to admit they're both declining. The Kardashians' Hulu show has tanked. Their cultural influence is waning, and yet they still rank above Harry and Meghan in the Hollywood hierarchy, because at least the Kardashians built something from nothing. At least they understand how entertainment actually works. Meghan thought she was a media master manipulator. She thought her brief experience with Toronto press meant she understood how to work the machine, but she doesn't. She never did, and now she's learning the hardest lesson Hollywood has to teach. Once you're labeled difficult, once you're branded as toxic, once the industry decides you're more trouble than you're worth, there's no coming back from that. Let's zoom out and look at the full picture of what Harry and Meghan have accomplished since leaving the royal family. They wanted freedom. They got isolation. They wanted privacy. They got irrelevance. They wanted to be taken seriously as philanthropists and entrepreneurs. They got snubbed by a Kardashian on Instagram. This is the end result of every decision they've made since Megxit. They traded working royal status, automatic global respect, and meaningful platform for what exactly? A mansion in Montecito that feels more like a prison than a palace. A string of failed business ventures, a marriage that royal insiders openly describe as unsustainable, and a social position so diminished that even reality television stars won't give them photo credit. The brutal mathematics are undeniable. They attended Kris Jenner's birthday party. They posed for paparazzi. They mingled with actual A-listers like Oprah and Mariah Carey. And when the host curated her Instagram memories of the evening, Harry and Meghan didn't make the cut. Not because Kris forgot about them, not because the photos were bad, but because featuring them doesn't move the needle anymore. They don't generate heat. They don't create buzz. They're not worth the digital real estate. Think about how far they've fallen. Harry was born a prince of the United Kingdom, third in line to the throne, son of the future king. He served his country with distinction in Afghanistan. He created the Invictus Games, a genuinely meaningful initiative for wounded veterans. He had the whole world's goodwill after his mother's death, and he threw it all away for a woman who can't even get Kris Jenner to post a photo of her. Meghan had a different kind of potential. She could have been one of the most influential women in the world, the first American to marry into the senior royal family in modern history, a biracial duchess who could have genuinely modernized the monarchy and served as a bridge between tradition and contemporary values. Instead, she's hawking overpriced jam to an audience that actively dislikes her. The saddest part is that they did this to themselves. Nobody forced them to leave. Nobody made them trash the royal family in interviews and memoirs. Nobody insisted they attend a Kardashian party on Remembrance weekend. These were choices, and choices have consequences. Back in Britain, the monarchy moves forward without them. George steps into his future role with dignity. William prepares for kingship with his wife beside him. Charles reigns despite his health struggles, surrounded by family who chose duty over celebrity. And Harry grimaces through another publicity event orchestrated by his wife, another painful reminder that he chose wrong. The D-list descent is complete. The Kardashian snub made it official. Harry and Meghan are no longer royals in exile. They're just celebrities nobody particularly wants to see. Invited to parties but not worth photographing, desperately grasping for relevance they'll never reclaim. Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.